Hey guys, what is happening? I hope you're all good. Was browsing through the internet and come across this Soul Calibur 6 rumor news. Now, I don't know if it's actually true, so just take it with a grain of salt, but here is what the guy said. Soul Calibur for PS4, PC, and Nintendo Switch. No info on an Xbox One version yet. Doesn't mean it doesn't exist, but don't be surprised if there isn't one. The game will be revealed in December on either 7th, 8th, or 9th. If they do not reveal the game on those dates, then it will be revealed on the 20th, as that's the anniversary. One of the reasons that Soul Calibur 6 was never revealed for its anniversary last year, even though they were building up to a reveal even as late as the fall of last year, was because they ran into technical issues that sent the game into a mini development hell of sorts. The game was still in the motion capture stage, even back in May of this year. So that was basically why it didn't get revealed. Now I'll talk about some of the features that this guy says is in the game. The thing I heard was the cause, or most likely cause for the delay, was the implementation of a moveset / style switching. E.g. having multiple movesets per character, or weapons even. So basically, think of like Mortal Kombat, how you can switch up the fighting styles. You can have, like, you know, different weapons and different moves. I think it's going to be something similar to that, but it's just a rumor. Next thing he says is, since that's not working out how they wanted to, considering that it was such a big deal to its direction and draw for the game, they delayed it until they figured out how to implement it or completely axe it altogether. However, the final word on this current topic was that it was retained in a certain capacity. You will understand what I mean by this eventually. So, I'm not sure if it will be exactly like Mortal Kombat or something, but maybe you can switch weapons in-game or something like that instead of a completely different fighting style at the menu. I don't know what it's going to be, but he does state that it will be in the game as some shape or form. The next thing he says, which I was excited about this, if this thing is true, I'm pretty pumped because he was my favourite character in the Soul Calibur series. Kilik is back and uses his staff moveset again. Not the Weapon Master thing that everyone hated on Soul Calibur 5, he will have a new rival too. So, first of all, Kilik coming back, that's great. Awesome character, always loved him as I stated. Now, concerning Weapon Master, if you didn't play Soul Calibur 2, basically a dungeon based mode where you go into different rooms and choose different paths, and there's enemies in there, and basically you continually grind and eventually you verse enemies until you get to the boss. Now personally I enjoyed Weapon Master mode, found it very fun even though it was a little grindy, but it was a nice touch for a fighting game as it extended its life. But this guy here is stating that it's not going to be that. So yeah, anyone who didn't like it, I guess you're in luck. Now, as for the rival part, in Soul Calibur, just before the boss, there's called a Destined Battle. You fight a character who's your rival or sworn enemy, and it usually has something to do with the character's lore, so it will tie into their story and actually matters. So when he says Kilik has a new rival, this makes me think there will be a new canon addition to his story in which this new rival has an important part in. Now this one was a little crazy for me when I read it. Nonetheless, this is what he states. Gameplay and mechanically, supers are back, and as far back as July, there was some kind of universal mechanic like V-triggers. Okay, so first of all, supers in Soul Calibur were known as critical edges. It's your basic run-of-the-mill, you know, goes into a flashy cutscene for your player, does a certain amount of damage, and it's stylish, you know. So yeah, they'll be back. And concerning V-trigger abilities, I'm guessing it's going to be something that, like a mode you can activate and everyone does something different, just like Street Fighter I guess. But I guess this one will be interesting if they implement it, because this is weapon based, so I'll be interested to see what they do if this is a true rumor. Nonetheless, I'm excited for it. The next point he says is there's a huge focus on story elements. Not much to explain there, other than I kind of gathered this from when they talked about Kilik having a new rival. I thought it's going to be some big extravagant story mode that they actually put a lot of work into, so we'll see how that turns out. Okay, so here's some more information on the characters. I know of 2 veteran characters at the moment. I can't say who quite yet, but they're very obvious inclusions that aren't surprising at all. They were both on Soul Calibur 5. They aren't characters who originated on Soul Calibur 5. I don't know any of the characters introduced on 5 that are returning or not yet. These two characters have been on every numbered entry since introduced, but were introduced in different games. Okay, so concerning the two original veteran characters, I looked at the roster and saw which characters were introduced in which game, and these are just pure guesses, but my guesses would be something like Siegfried was introduced in Soul Edge, which was the first ever game of Soul Calibur, and then Nightmare was introduced in Soul Calibur, which came straight after that. Now, those are just guesses, but Nightmare and Siegfried have always been the poster boys for it, and Mitsurugi has, I don't know, when I think of Soul Calibur I just think of him, so it could be him, could be them, or it could be someone else, but those are my guesses. Okay, then he says, I know of 3 newcomers. The one that I know the most about is very unique and different, being a first ever for the series mechanically. Their unique weapon style is blade based. This character is important to the story, but not the main focal character. So obviously what he's saying is there's some sort of blade based character that does some things that we haven't seen before in the game. Because he hasn't divulged much, there's not much to speculate on this, but it sounds interesting. Okay, and the last piece of information that he says and I have for you guys is the 3rd new character I know about is suspected to be a Fire Emblem character for reasons I cannot divulge. So yeah, that is pretty cool. It could be Ike, could be Marth, could be anyone really. But yeah, it's a pretty interesting load of information there. Sounds like the guy, you know, hopefully what he's saying is true, because there's a lot of cool things there and I don't see why he would just make them up, and it sounds like he has an inside source, but we won't know until around December, I guess, and if it gets revealed, I'll be making more videos about it. So hope you enjoyed this info dump and this rumor reveal. And yeah, tune in for next time, probably around December if you want to hear more Soul Calibur 6 news. Take it easy, guys.